boys and girls, it's Mrs. Miller, and I've got a book for you called Big Al. And if you look here at our front cover, you're probably going to figure out real fast which one of these characters is Big Al. Let's read and see what happens in this story. This is called an end page. A lot of times, to make a book more interesting, between the front cover and the story, you might have some artwork. And you can tell the setting. This would be deep in the sea. And then here's our title page, Big Al by Andrew Clements. And here's our main character, Big Al. In the wide blue sea, there was a very friendly fish named Big Al. You could not find a nicer fish. Well, that sounds like somebody I'd like to be friends with. But Big Al was also very, very scary. Other fish seemed to have at least one friend. Some of them had many, but Big Al had none. He did not really blame the other fish. How could he expect little fish to trust a great big fish with eyes and skin and teeth like that? So Big Al was lonely, and he cried big salty tears into the big salty ocean. But Big Al really wanted friends, so he worked at it. First, he tried wrapping himself up with seaweed. He thought it was a great disguise, but no one else did. Who wants to stop and talk to a floating plant that has big, sharp teeth? Then he thought if he puffed himself up round, the other fish would laugh and they could see how clever and silly he could be. All they saw was how big he could be. They steered clear. Very early one morning, Big Al went down to the bottom and flopped and wiggled himself into the sand until he was almost covered up. He looked much smaller. When the other fish came near, Big Al talked and joked with them and had a delightful time. But then one scratchy little grain of sand got stuck in his gills. And Andy, achoo! Oh, when the clouds of sand cleared away, all the other fish were gone. Just when Big Al was starting to be sure that he would never have a single friend, something happened. Can you guess what's about to happen? Use the illustrations to look for some clues. I see lots of fish, but I see the fish are in a net. What could happen next? He was floating along, sadly watching some of the smaller fish, and was wishing that they would come closer. He watched. A net dropped down silently from above, and in an instant they were caught. That's what's going to happen. Big Al forgot all about being lonely, and he forgot all about being sad, and his eyes bulged out bigger and rounder than ever. And with a mighty flip of his tail, he opened his mouth and charged straight at that net. The net was strong, but Big Al was stronger. He ripped through it, and all the little fish rushed out of the hole. Yay! If you guessed he was going to tear up that net, you are a pretty smart kid. But did you guess what happened next? But when Big Al tried to turn around and go out of the hole, he got all tangled up in the net. He was stuck. Oh no. Can the little fish save Big Al? The net went higher and higher towards the bright surface of the sea, and the little fish watched Big Al as he disappeared above them. When the little fish were able to speak again, they all talked about what a huge, wonderful fish Big Al had been, how he had saved them, how great it would be to be free. But what a shame that the big fellow had been captured. Will they ever see Big Al again? Yes! Just then there was an enormous, tremendous crashing splash around them, and the small fish dashed away. Was it the net again? No, not at all. It was Big Al. Those fishermen took one look at him and they threw him right back into the ocean. And now there is one huge, puffy, scary, fierce-looking fish in the sea who has more friends than anyone else. His name is Big Al. And then we have end pages and the back cover. What I'd like for you to do today on your response when you take out your journal, put your date up at the top and just have some fun drawing a big, scary fish. You might want to use some details like big eyes, big teeth, wavy fins, bumpy. What can you do to make a big, scary fish in your journal? Have fun. I'll see you tomorrow.